Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be another childhood ruining conspiracy theories for you guys. I love these videos because I love any conspiracy theories surrounding our favorite childhood TV shows and movies. I'm just a very nostalgic person. I love looking back onto early 2000s shows that I loved as a kid. So before we get into it, I would like to thank Cerebral for sponsoring today's video. So Cerebral is an online mental health platform that provides prescription medication management, therapy, and counseling. Cerebral allows you to get the mental health care that you deserve from the comfort of your own home. Cerebral can help with therapy for anxiety, depression, insomnia, and other conditions as well, all for a flat monthly rate. Also, treatment for ADHD, bipolar, and PTSD are available in certain states. My favorite thing about Cerebral is the fact that it's online and convenient as hell, and it's also super private as well. If you use Cerebral's mobile app, it's basically having your little care team in your pocket, which I love. I also love the comprehensive care behind Cerebral. If you are going through a major life event or there's a lot of stress right now, Cerebral's therapists are here for you. They specialize in grief, trauma, relationship and family issues, and LGBTQ+. It just makes it feel like a safer space, especially if you're LGBTQ+, you probably get that. Therapy with Cerebral can cost 3 times less than traditional therapy, which is especially great if you do not have insurance coverage. You start by filling out a simple online form, answering a few questions, help Cerebral understand your symptoms, and from there you can subscribe to one of 3 different membership options depending on your budget and needs. So if you guys would like to take the next step in working on your mental health, click the link in the description box to start the questionnaire. Get connected with a provider right away. Your first month starts at only $30. If you guys are struggling right now, I am here for you. I'm with you. It's really hard. Life is hard. It's really stressful, but it is so much harder alone. If you talk to someone, it makes it so much easier, I promise. So thank you again to Cerebral for sponsoring today's video. But without further ado, let's get on to the childhood ruining conspiracy theories. All right, so the first theory has to do with Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter, and I saw this theory a while back, and I thought it was super interesting, and I kind of think it makes a little bit of sense. I know there's a lot of theories debunking it, but we're gonna talk about that. So the theory is basically, since Harry is a Horcrux, and as we saw in Deathly Hallows, the Horcruxes, or being so close to a Horcrux, can make people into bitches. Like when it made Ron just such a bitch when he was wearing the Horcrux. People came up with the theory that perhaps since Harry himself is a Horcrux, him being surrounded and in such close proximity with the Dursleys is what made them so terrible. I would say the obvious issue with this theory is that Harry does not have this effect on other people in his life. However, we don't really see Harry interact with that many muggles besides the Dursleys. Perhaps because the Horcrux lives within Harry, it only turns people into bitches if they're muggles. I don't know. I thought that part is an interesting idea, because perhaps if you're a wizard, you're not going to be affected by the human version of a Horcrux. Then people talked about how Harry was made a Horcrux on accident. Basically, the people who were debunking this theory go into the idea that Voldemort didn't do all the necessary procedures to make Harry an intentional Horcrux. It's believed that that magic is even weaker than expected. But I actually think that's a plus for the theory, because then I feel like it makes more sense to think that perhaps muggles will not be able to withstand the Horcrux, and the Dursleys living with Harry was surrounded by this negative energy, making them bitches, and that's why his friends in the wizarding world were not affected, because the Horcrux was not made intentionally. It was a weaker magic, and thus wizards themselves were able to avoid any issues that came with it. Kind of think it makes sense. I get where people are coming from when they have their debunking of this theory, but I do think it's an interesting concept overall. What do you guys think? I love Harry Potter theories. I would love to hear if you guys have any Harry Potter theories in the comments below. I just love it. Although I personally watch for the plot, which for me the plot is Ron and Hermione. I love the rom-com aspect. It's I'm here for it. Everyone else likes the action side of it. I can't relate. I like the fun little magic vibes and the cute Ron and Hermione moments. That's just me though. Next 2 theories kind of interconnect, and it's gonna start with a theory about the 7 dwarfs from Snow White. There's basically a theory that Dopey was not a dwarf at all. The theory goes that one day the 6 dwarfs were walking through the forest and they found a baby who was Dopey, and they assumed that he was a dwarf, but he wasn't. He just was a baby. Because he had a really rough childhood living with the dwarfs, because they were always picking on him, always making him do really hard tasks, and he really struggled, and they called him Dopey. They kind of just made fun of him. He was just the dopey one. He was really traumatized from living with the 6 dwarfs. The theory continues that Dopey ended up growing up, and that was when the dwarfs realized that he was in fact not a dwarf, and he became taller than them, and that was when they kicked him out. Because Dopey had had such a traumatic childhood and traumatic experience, he ended up making his way to Italy and becoming Geppetto from Pinocchio. Basically, the main grounds for this theory is that they look so much alike. The clocks that Geppetto makes like kind of have like weird energy. It's very violent, and people think that's because of Dopey's trauma, but I think that the main thing is that they look alike. It is really true. Like, it looks like Dopey would grow up to be Geppetto. It makes a lot of sense in that aspect. Do I think it's true? Questionable. But what do you guys think? I thought it was interesting regardless though, because they do look so much alike, and I always think it's weird when people make cartoon characters look so much like other ones, because then people are gonna have theories. The next theory regarding Snow White is something I genuinely believe is true. So the Snow White theory is that the evil queen from Snow White is actually Mother Gothel from Tangled. And there's a lot of reasons why this theory makes a lot of sense. Of course, they look alike. They're both obsessed with like becoming beautiful and being beautiful and looking young and pretty all the time. And both stories are supposed to take place in Germany. So the timeline of this theory is that Mother Gothel was born in southern Germany. This is where she discovers the flower, which is talked about in the movie Tangled. So she discovers this golden flower that keeps her young and beautiful forever. The theory continues with the idea that Mother Gothel rises to power and marries Snow White's father, which making her the evil queen. So of course the events of Snow White then occur, and as you see at the end of Snow White, the evil queen ends up dying by falling off of a cliff. But the idea is that she actually faked her death. I think this makes a lot of sense, and something an evil queen would definitely be able to do is fake her death. So the evil queen has died. She only ever returns to southern Germany when she needs the flower, the golden flower that keeps her young and beautiful and is continuing to keep her this way. It goes further into the theory by the events of Tangled happening, which to me makes a lot of sense, because once Rapunzel's parents ended up needing the flower, and then, you know, the baby was stolen by Mother Gothel. Mother Gothel lived in a very secluded area. It's very possible that she could have gone on her entire existence as Mother Gothel without people recognizing that she was in fact previously the evil queen. Especially if the villages that they lived in were just nearby. It's not like they had social media at the time, so you know, it was easier to hide, I feel like. I actually feel like this theory makes a lot of sense, and I think it probably was Disney's intention, because they don't really love to do a lot of princesses from the same place. So I think it is interesting that both Tangled and Snow White are taking place in Germany. It's just like not really common to have two princesses from the same place that don't connect. I don't know. I found it quite interesting, but I would love to hear you guys' theories on it and your opinions on this theory. I just love the idea that things connect, like the Pixar theory. Forget about it. Like, I find it so fascinating. I love when storylines like fold into each other. Let me know what you guys think. And if you have any other Disney theories like that, I would love to hear them. And anything like the Pixar theory, I just want to hear it. I just love reading stuff like that. The next theory we're going to talk about revolves around Peter Pan. So you guys have probably heard of the theory that Peter Pan is actually evil. If you haven't, essentially it's the idea that Peter Pan is actually killing the Lost Boys in order for them to stay in Neverland, which is essentially an afterlife, and never grow up. The theory goes on with the idea that Captain Hook is actually the good guy the whole time, and he is the one who's trying to stop Peter Pan. I found this theory to be really interesting because I never thought it was true. Well, I saw this TikTok, which we're going to talk about the contents of. I will link it below. This girl, she's always ruining everyone's childhood with these songs, with like just different stories. I love her. She's so funny. So she talked about how the writer of the original story of Peter Pan, J.M. Barrie, was actually intentionally writing Peter the way that he did. When J.M. Barrie was 6 years old, his brother David was 13 and he passed away. This was of course really hard for their family, especially their mother. J.M. Barrie had a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that he was continuing to get older while his brother never got the chance to, which is of course understandable. However, his mother ended up finding some sort of comfort in the idea that her son David was a little boy forever. Widely speculated and believed that this is where the concept of Peter Pan came into existence. The concept is that Peter Pan is a little boy who died and is continuously finding lost boys and killing them so that they can be children forever, which is a really dark and sad way to look at it, but I truly think that that's kind of what's accurate. They end up there never getting the chance to grow up. It's alleged that this is all inspired by his brother who never got the chance, which is honestly really, really sad. This theory kind of freaks me out, to be honest. So let me know you guys' thoughts on that. But the last theory that we're going to be talking about revolves around Disney as a whole, specifically Walt Disney himself. I would love to do a whole video deep diving into Walt Disney because I think he was such an interesting man, obviously, and he obviously created a lot of things, and I just think it would be interesting to deep dive into. But for now, I want to talk about the theory of why the Disney princesses never have mothers. So you guys probably noticed that like early themes of Disney movies were consistently, they were never having like their own mother. Their mother usually died in a lot of these movies. This was like, again, a very common theme throughout all Disney princess movies. And people believe that the reason that the Disney princesses never had mothers was because Walt Disney had actually lost his mother in a really tragic way, and it really affected him that he couldn't even write things that had to do with mothers in general. This theory kind of has some truth to it because Walt really struggled with his mother's death because she passed away from an accidental furnace leak in a house that Walt had bought for his parents, so it was really hard for him to deal with, and that is why people speculate that he could not write the Disney princesses to have mothers. I find it to be a really, really sad theory and honestly really interesting. I mean, if you look at the past Disney princess movies, it's clearly a theme. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other childhood ruining conspiracy theories, or if you have any shows or movies that you want me to look into theories behind, like old like shows that you watched when you were a kid. Let me know, because I love doing these videos. I love looking back onto my favorite childhood shows and movies. So let me know what you guys want to see. That is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram because I'm always posting really dope ass shit on there. Subscribe for new videos every week, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.